Okay, here we are again.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, so how have you been doing, Jess?
So, well, since our last chat, I feel I've been doing pretty well, uh, aside from just like what I call like the tone of chaos going on in the world. But outside of that, I have felt pretty good, pretty accomplished.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. How about you?
Um, yeah, I've been feeling a little up and down. Part of it is recently I had to wear my glasses for 3 days and
Oh,
instead of
yes.
contact lenses, and I have a massive prescription.
Yes,
And
yes.
so having to wear my glasses for 3 days like got me sort of discombobulated in
Because you
general.
see differently. Yeah, you see differently out of glasses. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. So
Yep.
between that and what I think of as like the storm of fuckery that we're in.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way to put it. Yes. Amidst the storm of fuckery. Yeah, I was going to say this at times I feel centered, like kind of being in trying to stay in my lane,
Hmm.
be mindful, but also like you said though, I have noticed like waking up in different moods, which is interesting for me because normally that's not necessarily usual for me, like waking up either some days anxious or felt heavy Saturday morning. And it's like I feel like I'm kind of plugging into that storm.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I had a few like personal things in my own like atmosphere, my own weather system, personal weather
Yes.
system, like
Yeah.
fantastic things and challenging things. So
Yes.
it's been
Yep.
like a bit of an up and down for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
But
noticed that. Yeah.
But one of the really cool things, one of the up things for me was, since we did our first podcast episode,
Mhm.
we've had like 86 plays
Oh, that's awesome.
for that podcast. And we have 8 signups on our Patreon. And we have one paid sign up, which is so
Yes.
fantastic and
It's
lovely.
exciting. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we're starting to have a more, like when we started, we didn't really know where we were gonna go with it. And I feel we have this container that's being created. So we'll
Yeah.
have different places for people to land and watch it. So I'm excited. I've always wanted to have a podcast.
And look at this, you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the other bit of news that since we last recorded, we're now, as of yesterday, we're also up on Spotify and iTunes.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
It is. It really is. Yeah, and we got some great feedback from people and input from people as to what they wanted us to talk about. Had some
Mhm.
questions for us. So I don't know. Do we
Yeah,
want to dive into it?
yeah, I'm ready to dive in.
Cool. Um, So first we got from Colleen. Let's see. Colleen had asked, um, actually, let's go to Barbara. Barbara had asked about
Okay.
trustful, truthful information sources.
Yes. Yeah.
And so what are your go-tos?
Yeah. Oh, I think Barbara also mentioned like other than Heather Cox Richardson.
Well, we
I,
have to talk about Heather Cox Richardson.
yeah,
At least
so
mention her name
yes,
and
yes.
bow down a little bit
Yeah.
to her.
So but like her, I do follow her just because uh I find her to be her history and research. I regardless of what anybody else thinks, I do find she tries to stay factual and will admit when she's emotionally involved. So at least you know when you're hearing. So I do listen, and I know we'll probably come back to her because her and her friend Joanne.
Yes.
I also listen to, I had to write his name because I always forget. I don't listen, I read and follow is Brian Tyler Cohen. I don't
Oh,
know if
cool.
you listen to him.
Hmm.
Um, so he kind of is like what you would probably call now like more private media. Like
Okay.
but I find his stuff is, I always follow, and I'm always a bit skeptical. I don't know about you. Uh, which I think is healthy to be like,
Mhm.
okay, let's see how this, if this is accurate or,
Yeah.
and his news tends to be in the moment accurate,
Hmm.
you know. So I do tend to I follow him.
Hmm.
I listen to sometimes, but I'm starting to detach a little, was Midas Touch. I don't know if you've heard of
Oh.
Midas Touch. They do tend to be pretty, they're left leaning, but they're very, again, factual. Like
Hmm.
their news tends to be quicker than the rest, so their headlines are and stuff, and then they do all day long news. They're through primarily YouTube.
Okay.
And then they do have a Facebook page, I assume Instagram. Uh, the only thing is, I'm starting to find their headlines very dramatic, like all hell breaks loose. It's a lot of all hell's
Oh,
break.
it's the
Well,
clickbait.
is a lot of clickbait, but if you can get by the clickbait, their reporting is pretty spot
Hmm.
on in the
Hmm.
moment. I listen to them. I don't know about you, follow a lot of senators and reps that
Mm,
are on both sides of the aisle, so I can see where people, I like to know everybody's landing,
absolutely.
regardless of where I lean. I want to know what the far right is
Hmm.
speaking to. So of course I've got Bernie and
Yeah.
um, our state reps and senators
Hmm.
in Rhode Island, Connecticut, but I follow a lot of them, especially the bigger voices we
Yeah.
see. But I also will, like, I'm actually am following Thomas Massey because he's creating a ruckus.
Yep.
Uh, don't always agree with him, uh, but
It's good to
I
be
love,
informed.
yeah, I do it to be informed. So I
Yeah.
know, because I want to know also, I think you've talked to me about this. I want to know what the other side
Yep.
is thinking, and I want to know where they're getting their information
Hmm.
from. So, and I like Marjorie Taylor Greene's another one. Um,
Hmm.
I do like to see what she's talking about, and so I tend to follow all of them. I do check in with major news sources just to see what they're reporting, but I don't get consumed. Uh,
Yeah.
so those are the ones I consistently have been following,
Hmm.
and and then of course Heather Cox Richardson and her friend Joanne
Yes.
on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, just as a side trip here, they really inspired us to like keep it
Mhm.
simple in our approach to doing this
Yes.
podcast. It's like, why not just record it on Zoom and
Yep.
not make it all pretty and shiny? And it doesn't
It's
have to be.
casual. It's
Yeah.
casual yet I find them interesting and fun to listen to.
Yeah. Same. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, Heather Cox Richardson, of course, and
Mhm.
she cites her sources too, which I
Yes, that's the other reason
always,
I really like her because I've gone and checked some of that
yeah,
stuff.
so have I.
Like,
And if I want to do a deeper dive, I
mhm,
know where to find the information, which is really
mhm.
helpful. Also, I'm a big listener of like NPR,
Yep,
and I watch PBS. I
yep,
also listen to BBC,
yep.
and
That's when I do like BBC.
yeah,
Yeah.
and when I'm in Canada, especially, but I try to stay up with
Hmm.
it even when I'm not there. CBC, so Canadian
Hmm. Yep.
version of BBC. And I also think just a website I wanted to mention was iceout.org,
Okay.
because there, if I'm interested in what ICE is doing,
Yeah.
they show live updates of sightings and reports from people on the ground. You can submit reports of ICE
Okay.
activity.
I'm gonna check that out. It's kind of like, is it the national parks page? I think a lot of us follow that. I'm having,
No, this is different. It's
but
called ICE.
is it similar to that, how they report in the moment all the time?
It might be. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
sure.
iceout.org, you said?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
what I can do is for the things that we're mentioning here, we'll put them in the episode notes that'll
Yep,
show up.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way
Yeah,
if people want
I
to,
haven't been on that page, so I'll check that. I definitely will check that out.
yeah, you can see live, sort of
Mhm.
any information that people see on the ground, they can submit it to this site, and then the site will confirm it as best they can, and they show whether it's been fully confirmed or it's just a report.
Mm-hmm.
I found it very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that is a go-to for me is I have I have friends who are more plugged into the news than I am. So I've got a good friend of mine who's very educated, and her husband is even more educated. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's reading newspapers in different languages, and
Okay.
I can't read
Yeah,
font
yeah.
because I don't speak French, but he is reading it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's if I ever have a question about something, I can always call my friend who can then check it out with her husband if she doesn't know. So I think
Mm-hmm.
checking in with our friends is a good idea too. If you've got
Yeah.
people who are,
Yes.
good
Yes.
information gatherers.
I have a few of them like you on social media that I
Hmm.
I follow because of like you're saying they seem to know certain things I don't have access
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I also do haven't blocked. There's a couple of people I might snooze or
Yeah.
hide,
Yeah.
but I'll go and see what they're up to because they might be very far right.
They're plugged in though.
So I want to know where they're getting their news from, and
Hmm.
I sometimes will check those articles and things, and sometimes I'll be 100% honest, like can be upsetting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like, well, then I understand though why they're going down those rabbit holes or how they're. I
Yeah.
like to know what makes the psyche.
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so it's like, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
So looking at
Yeah.
that, I
And
find
we talked
fascinating.
about that last time, that
Mhm.
we're both very interested in what motivates people. And
Yeah.
people's
Yes.
opinions aren't coming out of nowhere. They're coming from somewhere. And to understand the person, you kind of got to know what their motivations are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the other with the one that's creating a stir in Texas, is it Tallarico? I don't know if he just won the primaries as a
Mm.
Democrat, but he's another one that I'm following because he's very triggering to MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big threat to them. So he
Mm-hmm.
is in seminary to be a Presbyterian minister. So he's speaking out a lot about the Christian nationalism and how that's not authentic.
Fabulous.
So I do check in with him, like follow him for that, just for that reason, because they're doing everything they can to try to sabotage him.
Sure.
Um, he's running for senator, and he's a threat to the Republican seat
Sure.
there. But like you, yeah, I like to. I would be lying if I said though I don't feel disheartened a lot of days uh,
Yeah.
by the news. I notice with what's happening right now in Iran. I had a client today say we haven't really heard anything about ICE since this. It's all about this. Like we're not here.
That's why I like to
Yeah,
check iceout.org
I'm
because
gonna check that
yeah.
because it's still going on. It's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a
But
good recommendation.
what you were just saying, as far
Mhm.
as like it feeling, I think in my words, it can feel overwhelming how much information there is. That was the other thing that Barbara
Yeah.
had mentioned, asking, what do you do personally when it becomes so
Yeah.
overwhelmingly negative, and how do you keep a balance in a world becoming
Yes.
increasingly imbalanced?
Yeah,
Um,
that was a good question. Yeah.
yeah.
It's one too that is because of the nature of the work we do,
Hmm.
being it's coming up in my classes, it's
Oh
coming
yeah.
up. So we get it. I know you do. I get it, not just
Yep.
from family, friends. It's coming through that as well. And I
Mhm.
would say it is hard sometimes. I think for me, I'm
Mhm.
not, I know you'll speak to it. I know for me, sometimes I have to give myself, well, I think of it, you said it once to me in a coaching session that I have to have a fuck off card. Like a fuck it all,
Yep.
like give myself permission to whip that card out some days and unplug
Yep.
and not we were talking about it from a working
Yeah.
standpoint, when I need a break because I'm not productive. So I guess I would say do that in the
Yeah.
same way towards this of like, even if it's not reality, I'm gonna go into Jessica's little world today. I'm gonna
Yeah.
snuggle the cats, and the
Yeah.
dogs, and I'm gonna read a book and
Yeah.
and just kind of rejuvenate. Because sometimes you just get too like you were speaking to that. There's a lot of information, and I'm not so
Mhm.
sure that the human mind is designed to take in that much information. Like
Yeah.
I know we've evolved, but we're still like even the Epstein files, all of that information that got
Hmm.
released is as much as we wanted that information and want more. I
It's
don't know that we're designed to be able to absorb all that at
yeah.
once. I think that was part of their tactic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and
Um,
that speaks to one of the things that I always try to keep in mind,
mhm.
besides the like fuck it card or whatever
Yeah, yeah.
they're calling it then. There was one quote that I had originally been introduced to it with giving credit to Juliet de Berkeley Levy, but I think it actually belonged to Oscar Wilde.
Uh-huh.
That it's something like um, everything in moderation, even moderation. So
Mm,
it's kind of like sometimes I do want to do a deep dive and binge on something to, I like going down those rabbit holes, but in other times I really need moderation. Like
yes.
if I'm feeling like I'm already over my head in terms of my capacity, that's the
Mhm.
time. Lately I've been thinking of it as the like the queen of inertia
Yeah, no, that's a good
crown.
way of looking at it. Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
are times when I just need to defrag and
Yeah.
watch something that has nothing to do with what the world is, what's happening in the world around us, and just like watch something completely meaningless. And I
Hmm.
imagine myself like putting on the Queen of Inertia
I
crown
love that.
and like
Yeah.
lounging.
Yeah, it is like kind of, people do it, they call it doom scrolling.
Mm.
Um, but it might be those funny reels like cat videos and
Yeah, I will stand up for my social media feeds any day, and they are not doom
yeah,
and gloom. I
no,
curate that shit.
hmm.
You know, you
Yeah,
if you
you're pretty good at managing that. And
yeah,
I feel like you, like if I have to snooze something because it's showing up too much, but I
yep.
tend to like you. I have lots of fun things that show up in social media, like those
Oh yeah.
fun videos and things that make me belly laugh. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Or
that,
inspire me. And that's the thing about the algorithm is that it's
yeah,
incredibly responsive. So
yes,
if you're finding that there's stuff on your feed that's really troubling to you,
yeah,
block it, snooze it, um,
yep,
hide
yep.
it.
Because you
And
can bring it back. If you change your mind, you can easily
yeah,
unsnooze it or
yeah,
refollow. I've done that where it's like, I need a break from this. It's out of, like, actually, some of the most toxic stuff on my social media are the town group pages. I
there,
get the most
there's
upset.
something.
I get so upset because I'm in
Yeah.
there for the business. So I'm in Swansea,
Mhm.
I'm in Fall River, I'm in Westport, and I've seen such meanness.
Yeah.
That's so sometimes I have to snooze those pages.
Moderation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I know that was a question she had brought up, like, because it can feel hopeless. And one
Hmm.
is, yeah, that there's just so much information.
Yeah.
Like you're saying that it's hard to not feel that the world's burning.
Hmm.
It is, and it is chaotic right now. There's not much we
Yeah.
can do about it, but
And I think besides like the snoozing, the blocking, the hiding of things that aren't what you want to be seeing, I think it's also good to reinforce the things that you do want to be seeing.
yes,
So,
yes.
if there are posts that just, this is what I want to see more of, be sure to
Mhm.
engage with those posts.
Yep.
Save them, like them, comment on them. And that algorithm will say, okay, you want that? I'll give you more of
And then
that.
it gives you like 20 of it or
Right.
but yeah, because we are living in it's news saturated,
Yeah.
and there's that part like you and I have spoken about where we don't want to be ignorant or spiritually bypass stuff
Mm-mm.
either. So there's a balance. Like there's that
Mm-hmm.
moderation, that balance of being informed and having an understanding of what's happening without being ignorant to it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Colleen had asked about, fake videos versus real videos and also how to fact check um, things. And for me, I'm always looking for checking sources. Like
Yes,
Heather
me
Cox
too.
Richardson shares her
Hmm.
sources. But the other go-to for me is Snopes.
I
Snopes.com.
still use Snopes. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. There's Snopes. I think is it factcheck.org
I don't
is
know.
another. I think it's factcheck.org because I usually
I'll
check
look
both.
for it.
Snopes is pretty reliable
Yeah.
still to this day.
Yep.
Um, Believe it
They've
or
been
not,
around a long time.
uh, like I know where you land in the world of AI, but I have taken videos
Yep.
that I wasn't sure if they were real and
Yeah.
have uploaded them into AI to
Yeah.
ask, is this an AI video?
Yeah.
And it tells you,
I know.
it'll tell you. So I have used it for that.
Yeah. So Colleen, there's your answer for that.
Yes. Yeah. And but I've had to use Snopes. A lot of this stuff can be pretty tricky. It can look very, very real.
Yeah,
Um,
I think back like into the
mhm.
back in like the 1970s, there was this idea of have you ever heard of the uncanny valley? That
Yes. Yep.
theory where
Hmm.
in robotics, like people would look at robots that appeared human and at first they'd like feel empathy toward it, but then it would just
Hmm.
go wrong. It would start
Yeah.
being creepy and it would go into
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
uncanny valley. But now
Yeah.
AI is so good that it's not that
It can be hard
obvious.
to discern. Yeah, it can be hard to discern the difference. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got people having full on conversations with it, and it can be pretty insightful,
Hmm.
but it makes it weird. I get it. Yeah.
That uncanny valley that just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Colleen and Barbara, for those questions.
mhm.
And then we had Julia,
Yes. Yes.
who wanted us to talk about success in the spiritual world
Hmm.
and how many areas of success take a lot of work, even in the spiritual world, and the pros and cons of it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think this is something we can probably do our free ranging deep dive
Yeah,
into
yeah.
today
I thought
because,
that was a really good well, it's a topic that, especially in the work we do, and probably with the people who listen to us or are going to listen to us, we're in
hmm,
this world. It is something that comes up a lot.
sure. So, what have you been thinking about having
Hmm.
success in the spiritual world and what you'd like to share with people?
Yeah, and if I just so I'm clear too, I think that it was business related too, right?
Yeah,
Was it?
let me see if I can find the exact. So she said
Yeah,
specifically, how about success in the spiritual world? You could point out
success.
how many areas of success takes a lot of work, even in the spiritual world, the pros and cons of it. I'm sure there's
Mhm.
many.
Yeah, so well, I know for me personally, it's something that has always been up front and center for me, especially having a spiritually based business.
Hmm.
Because I know in this, it can be hard to run a spiritual business and think of money, right? Which is your thing. Like
I mean, yeah, I could get up on a
well,
soapbox
yeah,
all day
yeah.
long about this. Yeah.
I just remember this was probably about it had to be 20 years ago because I wasn't even Sarah wasn't, I wasn't even pregnant with her yet, and she's going to be 19. I went to a seance
Hmm. Yeah.
and not knowing what to expect. And even
Hmm.
though I'm in this world, I'm a little skeptical. But the medium who didn't know me at all, uh, when he came up to me, he named the first and last name of my great grandmother.
Hmm.
And I was like, and it's not like a normal, it's her name is
Sure.
Magdalena Swaja, like it's this long.
That's a name.
And then he mentioned some guides, but he said they say you're going to have a business,
Uh-huh.
and their message to you is to run it like a business and not a church. Yeah.
Yay.
And that's that, but that's it planted in here. It was something I've had to, and because what I interpreted that was that it's okay to make money.
Yep.
And in the spiritual dimension, there's a lot of hang up around that, like other people's beliefs and our beliefs. And
Hmm.
so I've, that is something I've had to always have conversations with myself that it's okay to be successful. Like I think we
Yeah.
like in banking is I was in banking
Right.
is a money related business. You're dealing with money
Yeah.
all the time, other people's money,
Yeah.
uh, but it's acceptable.
Yeah.
It's for profit unless you're a credit union, but they're still all about money. So
Well, yeah. I mean,
so
I think that what you were speaking to, how many hangups people have around being
correct.
in business, if it's a spiritual business, I want to talk about spiritual in a moment. Um,
Yeah.
I run into that all the time. It's like the starving artist, starving healer, um,
Yeah.
like martyrdom kind of thing that is in
Yeah.
the mix for people, whether they're aware of it or not. And it's this,
You're right. They're not always aware.
and
The
it's
other
it's
word
kind
I
of
would
like that.
add to that is humility, I have something to say about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you have to be, the beliefs are there. Like you have to be self-sacrificing,
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
long-suffering, martyrdom kind of
Yeah.
trope
Yeah.
that happens for people. And it's this, and I think the vow of poverty thing is just like
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. And I recently did, I've had to do some deep diving around that vow of
Hmm.
poverty. Um, I think about, because I grew up with a religious background
Hmm.
and there was a lot about humility and being
Hmm.
not being too big for your britches type of a thing. And I remember when I was
Yeah.
getting into this kind of work,
Hmm.
because I mean, it's not any secret. You've seen people in this field that it goes to their head.
Oh, it can go
A sig-
horribly wrong.
We could probably do a whole
I
podcast
think
on that.
we
Yeah.
should, when it
Yeah.
goes horribly wrong. I'm making a
Yeah.
note of it now.
I've seen that happen. Some have been to teachers of mine.
Yep.
Um, and it's just it's seeing, I'm not talking about judging. It's just something that's brought an awareness in me that's like, oh,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
So, and I remember hearing that in my family, like, don't, you need to stay humble, don't get too big for your britches, that it did plant in here. And then as I've grown and the sole purpose has grown, and this
Hmm.
has become, I left banking and this has become my livelihood. I realized that I had this belief that humbleness equaled playing small because it
Mm.
implies that. I think I shouldn't say it implies that it's kind of like forgiveness, which is a whole other
They just kind of
podcast.
walk hand in hand with each other.
But there's these stigmas attached to the word. So,
Sure.
so I realized that that was how I consciously attached humbleness, was that I was to play small in a way, I guess, or and it was a quote I read because I have a personal love for Saint Teresa of Avila. I'm a
Hmm.
little obsessed with different saints because it's their stories I like.
Sure. Hmm.
She's one of them,
Hmm.
and she has a quote in her writings about humility that
Hmm.
was transforming for me because it said humility doesn't mean that it means that you are so convicted in your purpose
Hmm.
that you don't need praise and you
Yeah.
don't and you don't get impacted by any criticism, almost
Mm.
like you don't need either or, nothing matters at that point because you're so in alignment with your call, your purpose. So
Yeah.
you just keep going, you just do it regardless of whoever's gossiping about you or whoever's saying you should offer that for free, or you am I making sense, like all
Yeah,
those.
I think so. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like letting the alignment with what I refer to as calling
Yes.
be the biggest source of information for you versus the things that, in my way of thinking of it, trigger your fear, and
Yes,
and
yeah,
when I think about
100%.
this, like fear for the most part is lying to you. Like unless you're being like a bear is charging toward you or there's somebody with a gun at your head. If you're not in any physical danger, fear
Yeah,
is outmoded in
yeah,
our
yeah.
system.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have these like off the charts reactions to things that aren't actually life threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And those things aren't, fear is giving you bad advice at
Yeah,
that
yes,
point. And
all the
so,
time.
and so I think fear to me is aligned with those limiting beliefs that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think these are some of those things that we're talking about
Yeah,
right now. Yeah.
yeah. I guess for me, I use that word humility as almost like a barometer.
Okay.
So, because I mean, I'm very transparent with you because you've been my life coach for years. So, the sole purpose has been this huge teacher for me because
Oh
it's
yeah.
always making me step out and hit
Mm-hmm.
those edges you talk about. And one of those edges I have is stepping into my power fully. And
Yep.
so, and I feel to be in this field and like success, that word success, which is really just letting that power rip, so to speak.
Well,
um
I think too,
yeah,
success
yeah,
looks very different for different people.
yeah, I should acknowledge that too. Yeah, like success is really just, it's unique to each person.
Mm-hmm. My version of
Yeah,
success isn't
yeah,
the same as your version of success.
yeah, I think that's important to acknowledge, not to get off topic like where I was going, but it's not always about measurement, like whose purpose is bigger, or it's
Mm-mm.
because our world really, it does too much of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's about, I think the success too is checking in around the balance you have in
Yeah.
your own life.
Yep.
Like I know you see me, I know sometimes I have overdone it growing growing the business. I'm
Yeah.
100% clear. Sometimes I'm consciously doing it and knowing like I can't, this has to be temporary because it's going to make me stay out of balance
Mm-hmm.
or fall into old patterns.
Yeah.
And so I do think, like you're saying, success isn't just about, in spirituality, isn't just about, like right now I'm using the soul purpose as I'm comparing it to that, but it's not just the sole purpose, it's my personal life too.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
it's all the other aspects of life, I feel. So
Yeah. Well, I want to go back
um,
to something you said a little
yep.
while ago, which was about, oh, no, I lost it. But it was really about like, oh, I know. So I think of businesses that are aligned with our callings are going to be some of our best spiritual teachers ever
Yeah,
because
yes,
they
yes.
will challenge us to grow, to evolve, to walk our own talk in a
Yeah.
way that's aligned with our values, our
Mhm.
ethics, our morals. And so I think that sometimes being in a business that is a calling type of business,
Yes, yes,
it has a
yeah.
higher bar on walking your talk because you have to be aligned in order to
Yeah.
do spiritual business. And I want to talk about spiritual for a moment because I think
Hmm.
the word spiritual can be a bit vague. Uh,
100% vague, yeah.
yeah, I think spiritual to one person isn't spiritual to another. I know some people that when I say the word spiritual, they immediately jump to it has to do with God.
Yeah, God, religion, yes.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
where, like, especially like in the spiritual finance work that I do, when we use that word, we really mean it as being aligned with your values. And that's it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I think it's helpful to define what spiritual means to you when you're
Yep.
in a spiritual business. What does spiritual mean to you? And that's going to
Hmm.
vary person to person. And I think it's also really important to define what success means to you because that's going to be different from person to person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that is true. Like, to me, we need to live. So financially, of course, there's a part that, we all deserve to make money doing what we love. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if you taught that class here. It was a long time ago. It was called Get Paid. You remember that? Yeah,
I
but it
do.
was like I've used that like, hey, back in the day we used to barter. We'd get goats or
Hmm.
whatever it was, like our needs were met that way. And there's
Yep.
just a very different perspective on spirit. Like you're saying, I think the word spiritual itself is a very it's undefined for a lot of
Hmm.
people.
Hmm. There are
So
a lot of assumptions tied to it,
yeah, yeah,
according to people's beliefs. But when you were talking about that, we used to barter.
yeah,
This is what, when I encounter the vow of poverty from anybody,
yeah,
that kind of trope or
yeah.
the starving healer thing that comes up, I like to think of like, okay, so where does that come from? And
Mm-hmm.
so, if it came from, the Christian beliefs where you had to give up all of your possessions,
Yeah.
just let's check that,
Mm-hmm.
because they may have been giving up all of their material possessions, but what were they being provided? A roof over their heads, food,
Mm-hmm.
clothing, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs were getting met. And
Yes.
that, you could monetize that. You could put a dollar value on that. So just
Mm-hmm.
remember that maybe they weren't getting, actual dollars.
Mm-hmm.
They were receiving resources that were worth something.
Yeah, it had value because it allowed them to live and keep living their call, as you
Mm-hmm.
say. Um, yeah, I think you helped me with it recently because I had talked to you about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went into, since we're talking about spiritual shit, I I
The spiritual
personally,
shit. Yeah.
yeah, spiritual shit, I use a lot of my tools uh, for
Mm-hmm.
myself as well. And one of those tools being the Akashic records and even dreaming, like the stories that come through in the
Mm-hmm.
dreams. And that was something I was working on because I'm like, I think I still have that locked in my body somewhere. And I had like I think I told you it was like I had this vision of me as a monk with the cord, with the three knots, and those three knots, it's chastity, poverty, and humility. Those are the
Oh.
three. Yeah, and I remember this other monk was there and had me toss it into a waterfall. It was a very visceral, uh, like meditate. It was in the Akashic Records experience, and I wrote a new contract and tore up the vow of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was I didn't quite release all of it because there's a little bit of this. There's this Jessica thing I have of needing to understand things a little deeper.
Yeah.
So there was a part of me that wanted to understand, I had this awareness that I was misunderstanding too what the vow of poverty was. Like, what did
Mm.
it mean when I took that in a past life? Like, what did that actually mean? And it was like another dream where I say dream, it's like a waking dream, as you go into some more like through meditation, however you want to look at that, where I was shown that the vow of poverty really isn't like what we think of it today. It doesn't mean like you're destined to be a beggar.
Mm-hmm.
It meant that you had enough trust in the universe
Mm-hmm.
that your needs would be met,
Yeah.
that you could be wealthy from the universe. So does that make,
Yeah.
that it wasn't the word poverty like
Sure. And I think
I
that
had perceived
also,
it.
like, if we move it beyond the, say, the Christian realm of
Correct.
things, I also like to look at, okay, so how were healers or, you know, our shamanic leaders in the
Mm-hmm.
past, how were,
Mm-hmm.
they were provided for, you
All
know,
like even like Buddhist monks,
uh-huh.
like you're saying, pagan healers, because we
Mhm.
were the herbalists that
Sure.
all the medicine people. Yeah, it's not just. I think some people go into that traditional Christian lens because we think about poverty as like something those particular clergy people take, right?
Yeah, and I think it's woven in with our beliefs about money and
Mm-hmm.
business, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
business being bad,
Yes.
or manipulative, or any of the limiting
Yeah.
beliefs people have around business. You have to really confront those beliefs and ask yourself, do they align for me or not? And ditch the
Mm-hmm.
ones that don't. Um, yeah, I think that it's a lot. And I think it's
It
not just
is
our own personal beliefs. I think there's this like,
collective.
collective unconscious that
Mm-hmm.
holds these beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's
And
kind of like in the
as you're
water that we swim
talking,
in.
like as you're talking about this, I'm thinking of, not to go back to politics, but
Go ahead.
there's this awareness collectively rising. Like a lot of us already had the awareness, but it's more in our face that there's this elite,
Mm-hmm.
extreme wealth,
Mm-hmm.
um, rich, however you want those words that we're seeing, and with it we're seeing evil.
Mm,
That's the word I'm going to use. Like it's however you,
sure.
or maybe it's just the power, the ego, however you want to. So I'm not necessarily saying I'm buying into that root of all evil belief.
No.
That comes up, but I do think it can cause a confusion, in
It's
people
kind
of
of
like
reinforcing that belief, that
right
root of
now
all
it is.
evil
Yeah,
belief.
right now I'm seeing it reinforcing it because it's like, does it always go to people's head? Like
Yeah.
you and I have had conversations like spirit, like in a spiritual call, like if I had wealth like that, or
Hmm.
like what we would do with it,
Yeah.
like that it wouldn't be what they're doing.
Yeah. That, it's part of the spiritual finance work too, is that,
Correct. Yeah.
when we think about having money, to really be deliberate about how that relationship is aligned with our values fully. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really important to also look like when you see wealth in the world, let's not jump to the conclusion of wealth equals greed or wealth equals
Those evil
evil.
things, or whatever we want to call it. It's dark, uh,
Yeah.
power control. So one of the things I have been is I deliberately am, and I'm probably haven't found it all yet. I'm looking for people who do use their wealth in what I would say in a way that aligns with my values.
Yeah.
Like
And I
people
think,
who are doing good with it, and
yeah. And
you
I think
know,
sometimes it's helpful to start closer to home,
hmm
because
yeah,
there's,
yeah,
it's
it's,
find the heroes in your neighborhood or
yeah,
in your town, in the county, in the state,
yeah,
because so much of what's out there in the media is pretty fraught with sensationalism around what people with wealth do. So start closer to home.
yeah. Like I don't remember who the person was. It's a couple of stories. One was uh, it was somebody that I had read, and it wasn't recent, but because I don't even know if people do layaway anymore, but it was this
Mm,
person went into Walmart and paid off everybody's layaway.
yeah,
Like I had
sweet.
read that I read that like a couple years back. Recently I
Sweet.
had read something with somebody who paid off every kid's lunch bill, like stuff
No,
like that.
yeah.
There was a football player that invested in housing for the homeless.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
I
saw
heard that
something like
recently.
those are the things that give me like the fuzzy wuzzies, I call it,
Yeah,
of and it reminds me that people are good,
yeah,
that
yeah.
that we're still good, that in that good can come of wealth.
Hmm. Yeah, and
Uh,
so when we're talking about wealth, to me, wealth and success are kind of like the same.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
um, I think of wealth not in the, stereotypical way it's portrayed in our culture, but I think of it more as like, what does wealth mean to me? You know.
yeah. I think that's important too, because
Hmm.
it's wealth doesn't always have to be on the, like we're seeing now. But I think what we're seeing now is that there is so much interference through
Hmm.
media, through everything that's coming at us, and we're seeing it in that big, the wealth of a country, the
Sure.
wealth of these uh, multi-billionaires, etc. And then there is a lot of negative um, reporting on it.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, so we've
So
been talking about like spiritual. We've
Hmm.
done a bit of a dive into spiritual. We've done a bit of a dive into money and business. But I think one of the other things that Julie was asking about was, what it takes in terms of work to have success
Yeah,
in the
I was
spiritual
thinking
world.
about that. Yeah, it's you and I may have different perspectives on that. Because that's something I have to check in with myself all the time because I catch this belief in me sometimes, like it's you work hard and it pays off.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a,
yeah, yeah,
that's a
yeah.
family belief, and that's something I am consciously working on. And I guess though, from my experience from a business perspective and running a spiritually based business
Hmm.
is is just like any business is I'm you is sometimes you have to be willing to take a chance on and a risk on your call, if
Yeah,
that makes sense, on your calling.
definitely.
Um, Sometimes you do have to be willing to invest, whether that
Hmm.
is your energy. If you don't have
For your
the
time.
physical money, it could be
Yeah,
it could be your time and energy, but I would recommend that it's done consciously. That you check in with those beliefs around it, so you're not. That's from my own experience of because then you can cause the burnout, like you've called me out on in life.
yeah. Well, I,
in a,
I actually see like two different things that happen
yeah.
around people being in a business that's their calling or a spiritual business. On the one end of the spectrum, I see the people who do like are tapped into that belief of I have to work hard for this to happen.
Yes.
And it's about like going, and then they're really
That's what
in
I was
trouble.
touching on initially. Yeah,
Right.
100%.
So there's that I see. But then the other pitfall, because that eventually leads to burnout if you're
A
not keeping
pitfall,
your
that was the
life.
word yeah, that's the perfect terminology for that. A pitfall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But the other thing that I see is when people are in a spiritual business, a business aligned with their calling, is that they think it has to feel easy all the time.
Yes.
That if it doesn't feel easy, it's wrong.
No, I'm
And
so glad you brought that up. I couldn't think of the right
speak
words
to
around
it.
that. Because no, it seems I think it's a misguided perception in this
Definitely.
in the spiritual community.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that oh, and it kind of falls into that like fluffy spirituality kind of
Yes.
category. Like if it doesn't feel right, it's wrong. And therefore, if it feels hard or difficult, and listen to my voice, even if as I say that.
No, but it's no, it's true though, because I've heard that like, oh well, my guide said that the money was gonna come, or like that there is this misguided belief and not to because we both work with law of attraction shit.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
So
energy, it's important. It's absolutely
correct. So I
important.
think
Yeah.
it's important to kind of have that knowledge. And I think success comes from the heart versus just here. So I think that but there's a balance between the two.
Yeah, I
And
think of it as,
yeah,
balancing the linear with the non-linear.
yeah, you got to check in on both. I think
Yeah.
the people at the Soul Purpose know I have my left brained office at one end and the right brain is another because I found didn't work well in the same
That's
room.
really, really smart that you
Yeah,
have two
and
separate offices
so
for
I'm
the.
very much aware now when I'm going into
Yep.
linear world, linear planning, and then I'm aware of my non-linear work because it's a big component as well. And
Yep.
I think it's really like you're saying that is in this spiritual dimension of business is giving yourself permission that it's okay that you have to work hard at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
But what I guess the thing I check in around is the inspiration and passion behind it. Because if
Hmm.
that starts to dim, I have to look at it. I have to look at like, am I going into an old pattern?
Hmm.
It's very conscious work, as you know, like it's a constantly checking in and being mindful. Also, sometimes I have been triggered through the years, meaning I say no to something because I think initially, oh, intuitively, this is wrong. It's not in alignment, right? Like,
The voice is
right?
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's like, no, I don't think spirit wants me to do this. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
when
then when it
really
gets
it's just like fear under the guise of being
a
spirit.
hundred, yeah. Then it's like kind of like the slap in the face.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, geez, Jessica, like you totally just bullshit yourself on that.
Yeah.
Like
And
try
I
telling
think,
yourself it's that, but in reality, you're going into avoidance because this is uncomfortable.
yeah, and I
Uh,
think you have
mhm.
enough awareness around this that you're able to catch it. But I think,
Now,
yeah,
I
I think
didn't
it's,
at the beginning. Yeah.
yeah.
um, so there is a lot of self check-in and self-reflection because
Hmm.
it's this the sole purpose is a spiritual calling for
Yeah.
me. It's almost as if it's a not just it is a world purpose, or I guess it's career. It's like, I mean, I've kind of meshed different
Sure.
aspects of my life. It's like a marriage in a way.
Oh, yeah.
It's a commitment. So um and as you know, any relationship is a big teacher.
Hmm.
So this is a relationship for me outside of
Yeah.
my other relationships that I um check in around, and
Mhm.
it has been quite enlightening. But I think one of the things I've gotten clear is that there doesn't need to be any guilt with making money doing what you love,
Yep.
uh, and because then you can just show others they can do it too.
Yeah.
You know, so others who have that limiting belief sometimes can get triggered as
Hmm.
we grow or expand in our success. They don't always see it's that meme I share every year when it comes up on my memories of the iceberg.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
of like people don't see the underneath and everything that goes
Yeah.
into it. Just
What people see of your career or your business is like that much of the iceberg, but
like
most of the iceberg is under the water. And there's so much that goes into the success
mhm,
of any business. And I
yeah,
tell my radical entrepreneurs all the time and my clients all the time, like it's not just about the work people see that needs to be compensated for. It's all of the work that's
mhm,
underneath the surface,
yeah,
and it's all the work that you've done leading up to this.
yeah,
You know,
all
the amount
the
of trainings
energy.
people do, the amount of energy they've put into
Mhm,
developing their practice. Like there's so much, and it does a disservice to other people in the healing arts or the spiritual world
yeah,
if you're not charging a rate that truly
right.
supports you.
Hmm. Yeah, feeling it reminds me of it. I watched it. It was I don't know if it was a picture slideshow or a reel, but this guy who was a really good artist, and then people would be, can you do this picture for me? But I can't afford it. So he was
Yeah.
like, sure, I'll do it for you. And then it just looks, he would make it so like heinous, like like somebody wanted a horse and it was like he would
Yeah.
deliberately make it ridiculous, just to kind
Cool.
of prove that point of that his time had value.
Yeah.
That is something I've had to learn through the years, you know, and have had to check in with. And then as in the spiritual business, it's like checking in with your, like you're saying, your time, your energy, your value.
Hmm.
And you've got, of course, Mark, just what you call the linear marketing influences around, like what that type of checking in around that.
And
And
all of the expenses that go along with the business too. It's
yes, you
not
have
just,
yeah, it's not like you're saying that 10% people see, they don't know all the
no.
expenses or the what, it's not just overhead, and there's a lot of expenses, of course,
And
and the more you grow, yeah.
it's also the expense of your time,
Hmm.
and I think that speaks to the hard work that Julia was, kind
Hmm.
of speaking to there is that
Yeah,
the amount of work that people put in that's not directly paid is
yeah.
absolutely necessary for the support of the business. A couple of
Hmm.
weeks ago, I shared a quote, and I'm going to like butcher this,
That's okay.
paraphrase this
Yeah.
quote, but it's like all the things that are in the background of your business are like the lifeblood. It's like the blood coursing through your veins. And if that doesn't happen, people aren't
Hmm.
going to know you're here to serve them. And
Correct.
that shit takes time. Social media postings,
Yeah.
creating advertisements,
Yeah.
writing newsletters, blog
Yeah.
posts, doing this.
Yeah.
Like it
It,
all takes time and it all should be compensated for. And while I'm up on this soapbox,
yeah. 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 Yeah.
in order to succeed in business, it needs to be organized and
Correct.
have a plan behind it that's aligned with the
Hmm.
destination. And I think that's where a lot of people who are in spiritual businesses, they miss the mark because they're thinking business is bad. Therefore, if it looks like organized business, it's wrong.
Yes,
But it's
I had to get
necessary,
over that. I had to get over that myself because I had I call it like PTSD from working in corporate.
right?
So I had to get over my own issues with that and realize it's okay to be business
Yeah.
and have that work in conjunction with the spiritual lifeblood of this, as you mentioned that word. It's I've learned a lot about myself because of it,
Yeah.
and the time and investment that does go into it. Because people don't realize too, it's not just about powering your computer down. You have to
No.
power everything down
Yeah.
sometimes. Like it can eat up a lot of energy,
Yeah.
especially when it is something you're passionate about and you love. So you have to, uh,
It's almost like when you enjoy it so much, it can be a really good argument for over giving to the business,
yeah,
and getting
yeah.
life out of balance because I love it so much. Then it just
Mhm.
eventually goes to a place of self-sacrifice that isn't
Yeah.
healthy. That work-life balance is critical.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is, and you can, I always say though, it's even to be successful, whether whatever the business is, right? Right. So if
Mhm.
it's spiritual or
Yeah.
there has to be a plan,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm very big about business planning and strategic planning,
Hmm.
because it's just like you teach in spiritual finance, looking at your credit report or
Yeah.
looking at, all this stuff that makes everybody get wiggy.
Yeah.
Um, but that's how you know what you need to improve on.
Sure.
Or the other thing I always look at too, success wise, is things that you might perceive as a failure. I've shifted my mindset that failure just means you got to try something different.
Yeah. It's just
Um,
feedback.
yeah, I don't really get down about it, where it used to be more soul crushing.
Yeah.
You take it personally, and then I just realized, oh, this isn't personal. Nothing
Right.
really is. It's
Well,
so
I do think, yeah, I want to speak to that for a second because I do
mm,
think when your career is aligned with your calling, it can feel especially vulnerable when things
mhm,
don't go well or when things
100%.
don't succeed. And I think that it's really important to be able to process that stuff.
Yeah,
And that's another thing I think to have success in a balanced way in business, it's also really helpful to have good advisors, good mentors, and to
yeah.
have community, other business owners that you're in community with so that
I
you're
would
not just
say,
in
yeah,
a void.
you can't do it alone. I have lots of help.
Yeah.
And that's something through the years too, uh, as the sole purpose has grown and expanded. I mean, I've had smart business people tell me like, oh, you probably shouldn't grow anymore because you'll need to pay more taxes, or you'll need to, and it's like, well, if I grow more, then I make more and then I can pay
Right.
those taxes. Or like I
Yeah.
had to constantly keep stretching and realize too when I would buy into those limiting things, or
Mm.
and and like you said, it just comes with practice
Yeah.
to catch those
Yeah.
limiting thoughts. But I think a spiritual business, obviously, I think actually though a lot of people have many ideas for business, but something that comes from your soul's calling is, like you said, is much more personal. It just always is going to be.
Yeah.
And
Which makes it easier in a way, in a lot of ways, because you love the work, but it can make it more challenging because you
mhm,
have to merge together the linear with the nonlinear and
yeah,
merge the spiritual with the business. Like they have to
mhm,
live together happily,
yeah,
harmoniously in a balanced
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Things we could, I know, because we probably won't have time to, other things we could touch on about this type of work would be things too, like the law of attraction,
Yep.
more so in a grounded format,
Yep.
not in the,
Non-linear in a really grounded way.
yeah, I would say that, and also competition,
Oh,
because that's
please.
something that
That's
comes
a
up a lot.
whole episode.
Yeah, it comes up a lot in this world and
Uh-huh.
probably in all business. The only thing I remember is competition in banking was just everybody was more transparent about it.
Yeah.
Because you could be at some type of a meeting where everybody from different banks and you just go up to somebody and tell them F you, and then you laugh and buy each other a drink, like it's
No, it's much
like
more
you,
subtle in
yeah.
our world, I think.
I think too, we take it more personally.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
so it's more of like kind of how to shift that mindset in
Yeah.
this business world. Might be some if people are interested in that because
Yeah.
it
I think
comes
we've
up,
got
yeah,
I think we have a few good like stepping off
episodes.
points for future episodes because we could go on about this for hours and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do need to contain our free ranging a little
yeah.
bit.
But it's fun. Yeah. Well, it's exciting too. Like we're talking about stuff that's passionate to us.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Yeah, and so the feedback that we got from people, informed what we did today. That was super helpful for us, and
mhm,
we want to hear more of it from people. Um, so I think an invitation for, give us feedback on what you'd like us to talk about, give us
mhm.
feedback about, what questions you'd like us to
Yeah.
answer.
Yes.
Yeah, what else do we need to say to wrap this
To
one up?
Well, yeah, also if anybody has suggestions for the podcast name, yeah. Like I know we have some ideas, but just if anybody has,
Anybody has an idea,
yeah, yeah,
shout it out.
we'll put it into our, yeah,
Yeah. And for now, we'll wrap this up. Check
yeah.
us out on Patreon, check us out on Apple
Spotify,
and Spotify, and give us your feedback. We're so happy that you are viewing us, listening to us. And yeah, until next time,
yay.
everybody be well.
Take care, everybody.